speak, right? Why am I running? Because we have a few crises that we need to address. First is the Democratic crisis, brought on by Donald Trump in the White House, and then perpetrated by his sycophantic fans in the State House, right? That's why we've got to get rid of Dan, because he wants to institute the Trump policies at our level, and we cannot have that. So the four issues that I think that are most important for everyone are healthcare, daycare, strong public education, and housing, right? We need to make sure that housing is attainable and affordable for everyone. The first rung of the property ladder is out of the reach for too many folks. We need to invest in subsidies that build actual starter homes, not 2,500 square foot McMansions, right? We need to do what we did after World War II and build homes for everyone. Homes are a right, not something to be traded by private equity. Healthcare. No one should have to choose between feeding their children, paying their mortgage, or going to the doctor and getting prescription drugs. Healthcare is my number one issue, has been for 25 years. As someone who worked in the service industry, I went without healthcare most of my adult life. When you have children without healthcare, it's absolutely terrifying. Everything becomes a problem. It's hard to even get into school without the proper vaccinations, and those cost money out of people's pockets. The big beautiful bill that was passed by the Republicans and the radical Republicans that support it here in this state want to make it harder for folks to enroll in Medicaid and SNAP. We need to make it easier and more simple. Get rid of that mid-year check. The worst thing that happens is we spend a little bit of extra money on somebody seeing a doctor. It's something that I'm okay with, right? The state knows how much money I make. They can enroll me automatically. And I want to make sure that we can enroll everyone who qualifies for these programs on day one when they file their taxes. Third thing, daycare. Who has children? No one. All right, there we go. All right, yeah. Some people are just talking about their kids. Daycare is unbelievably expensive, right? For two children under 6 to go to daycare, it's $40,000 a year. No one should have to choose between going back to work and having a family. We have a birth crisis, or a birth rate crisis, right? It's not anything other than unaffordable housing and unaffordable daycare. Who in their right mind has the ability to start a family when it costs the equivalent of a starting salary in this state to send your kids back to daycare, right? So we need to invest in daycare, make sure there's subsidies, and we have universal daycare for everyone, so every child has the start that they need and they deserve. And finally, strong public education, right? My opponent wants to take public good, public money, and give it to private companies in the form of for-profit charter schools, right? No public money for private profit, right? That is not something that should ever happen. On one hand say, we have poorly funded schools and the schools need our money, and then on the other hand say, well, we need to take that money and give it to private schools, right? That is not congruent. That does not work for me. So we're going to invest in our public education, make sure that we continue to have the best education in the Midwest, pay our teachers what they deserve and what they respect, so that we can get another generation of teachers here. We can end Tier 2, because just because you started after a certain date doesn't mean you don't get to retire with dignity. So I'm gonna need your help. That's right. Yes. That's right. I'm gonna need your help collecting signatures. I'm looking to get 1,500. I only need 500 to get on the ballot. I'll collect more than that just to make sure, because I know Dan will fight me tooth and nail every way. We're gonna flip this 65th and do something that's never been done. And after all of you help us win and help all these other Democrats win, that seat will never go red again, and it will continue to be blue for generations. This is a movement we're building. I want you to be a part of it. Thank you so much. I'm gonna let other people talk. Enjoy the fair.
Thank you.